Leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about alignment, awareness, heart, and grit. I'm Tammy Ebright, leadership strategist, and this is Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. Join me as I chat with leaders who are evolving, growing, and creating real impact on purpose. Each week, you'll hear stories that inspire, challenge, and remind you of who you are. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. Today, my special guest is my good friend, Jennifer Justus. Now, Jennifer was born into real estate. She is raised on grit and she has learned the value of hard work at a young age. She actually started at 6 years old, helping her dad with his rental properties and has had some amazing mentors along the way. She is a mother. She is a athlete with equine competitive. What's that called?
Cowboy mounted shooting.
Cowboy mounted shooting. So crazy. And she is a huge advocate for real estate rights and home ownership. Now, recently, she has announced that she's going to be running for Clay County presiding commissioner. And I'm super grateful to share her with you and chat with her today. Welcome.
Hey, Tammy. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. So, okay, let's just start because I just happened to see something about the Clay County Commissioner the other day, and I was like, I cannot wait to talk about that. Tell me, where did that come from?
I have been volunteering with different things in the county for about 15 years. Honestly, it started back when some real estate shenanigans were going down and they were trying to buy a $250,000 piece of land for $2 million, which they did, honestly. And I showed up with comps in hand to tell them, no, it was only worth $250,000. How could they be paying $2 million for this parcel? Turns out they might have been paying some of their friends. The FBI never did a full investigation, I don't think, because those individuals did not decide to rerun for office after some of the stuff went down. And we were able to get a constitution put into our county through an 81% yes vote by the people of the county. And I was a part of that constitution from Jump Street, from the commission appointing people to start looking at what counties had around us. Like Johnson County has a constitution or a charter. Jackson County has a constitution or a charter. One of the only counties that doesn't around us is Platte County, which I just recently talked to their presiding commissioner about it, and he's interested in doing it too because they only have 3 people on their commission. So they're growing. We all are growing. Clay County is the 3rd fastest growing county in Missouri. So we went to a constitution back in 2021. That's when it went into effect. And we were 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans appointed by presiding judge Shane Alexander. And we put this thing together. I believe it was over 14 weeks during COVID. We did a lot of Zoom meetings and stuff, but we hosted town halls to find out what did people in the county want to see in this constitution? And like I said, we looked at Johnson, we looked at Jackson, and we customized it for Clay County. What does our county need? How can we make this the best place to live in the area?
That's really cool. I didn't know that counties had those kind of things. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you're under state statute.
Okay, and so that helps you, like, you have federal, then state, and then the county can make more decisions on their own without having to go to the state. Is that kind of how that works?
It's a little more honed in for a county. So like our constitution specifies by county constitution that we now have 7 commissioners. Before we had 3. So a lot of smaller rural areas only have 3 commissioners. I don't know every county in the state of Missouri, but I do know a lot of them still have 3 because they're under state statute instead of a county charter or a county constitution. But as you get to be like a bigger county, it becomes more imperative to have rules and regulations that fit your area, like specifying that you would have more people, what the salary might be. We specified campaign limits for the different members that might run. We also specified that it was nonpartisan. And I think that was really important in this age because we're doing this in the federal government shut down right now, literally over partisan politics. And so I always like to say roads and bridges don't know a party.
Yes, yes.
People want good roads and bridges, and I feel like we don't want to shut down. We don't need that gridlock in our local government. There's enough, fighting and infighting going around. We don't need to add an additional layer of turmoil to county government when really people want good roads, they want good bridges. We're responsible for, budgeting, sheriff's office, taxing entities, mill levies, parks and rec. Clay County has a great lake that's a huge asset, and I hope that we can expand upon that. We're getting ready to do a big park study. It's about $250,000 to do this massive survey by an outsourced company. So I'm hoping we'll get some really revolutionary data out of that.
Nice. That sounds really exciting, and it sounds like you're very passionate about.
What am I not passionate about, Tammy?
That true story, true story.
I know, I go full bore. Tammy was watching me about, what was it, 2 months ago? You were watching me try to tame the dragon. The
Yes.
dragon, by the way, is a lot better now.
Well, she needed to, she had to build a rapport with you guys,
Oh, that horse.
a little time when you get a new horse for them to warm up to you and
Yeah,
under,
especially when they're young.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
young horses are a challenge, a big challenge. Whew.
And this is something, so your mounted shooting is something that you get to do with your daughter, Ashlyn. How has that been?
It's so much fun. We have drug a horse trailer, so like a gooseneck horse trailer. If you guys can just imagine, big truck that pulls a big trailer, that's literally what I hook up to and go with 3 to 4 horses, just depending. Usually it's 3 horses that we take mounted shooting with us. We have 3 horses that are trained for barrels. Mounted shooting is really their specialty, but the one that I was just talking about that Tammy saw me with is our newest horse. Her name is Tally. She's only 7, and she didn't come well trained. I've put her with a couple of trainers, but she needs developed out into a sport. And so we're trying to develop her out into a mounted shooting and a barrel horse more so than she's worked with some cattle. She's actually really good at that. But we do mounted shooting and barrels more than anything else. That's our passion. And we've gone Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa, around here. So we just drag all over and spend weekends together and sleep in the camper and have good conversations and windshield time. And I think it's great for a 13-year-old to be out in something that keeps them in the present.
Mm,
So that's just really important to me. That's one of the reasons that we do it. Certainly not a cheap sport. It's the fastest equine growing sport, but I'd also venture to say I think it's one of the more expensive sports. It's probably not as expensive as like a hunter jumper. That's a really vastly expensive equine sport. Those horses run way more than mounted shooting horses do typically, but it's a good time. And nothing fun is cheap, right? Everybody's got to pick their entertainment that they want to pursue or whatever they're passionate about. And we found the equine mounted shooting sport about 4 years ago. I was not raised with horses, so
mm.
I didn't know what a bit was. I didn't know what a bridle was. I didn't know what a halter was. I didn't know how to saddle a horse, but my good friend Bobby King took the reins and helped me learn. And so now I have a mounted shooting club. I'm running a barrel series with Hannah Kaufman out of Russellville. That's not far from where Tammy is. And we're running a series called Faith and Fast Horses. It'll end at the end of November, and it's a buckle series for the rodeo people. We are doing the buckles. People love buckles. So we're doing that and just having a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is Hunter had her first season this year, and she was on a borrowed horse, Hercules, and so he's gone home. So she's not racing, but she did welcome home Poker, although I still call her Big Booty Judy because she. We've had the malnutritioned older horse for a while. It was interesting to get one that's very round.
Easy keeper. That's what they call them when they don't take a lot of maintenance, is easy keeper. And I have one easy keeper And then I have that old horse Guy, which I don't even know if you've ever seen him, Tammy, but he's 30. So he's harder to keep because you feed old horses a whole lot more than you can feed a younger horse to keep them more round. They don't stay very round when they're old, do they?
Mhm.
Um, and
Or
then the younger horses, 7, 11, and I think Maymay's 15. Maymay's an easy keeper. She's like, I'm not sure how she's bred. She's a paint, but the other two are race bred and they are harder to keep weight on because they're race bred.
yeah,
So I've just learned all of this in the last few years. It's exciting stuff.
I know it's interesting. It's been fun. Like I seen a lot of my friends get horses before, we ever joined in on the rodeo. And so it's been fun this year watching Hunter, learn it. And she talks about a lot that, she's a first generation and, I didn't grow up on horses. So it's
Me
something she
neither.
wanted. And yeah, it's really cool though.
It is. And the horses bring a special bond that I never could have described before. It's very unique, and I know you see it too, just with Big Booty Judy coming in your window. She's just on the side there coming in your window, and she's like talking to you.
Yes,
And
yes.
she can't really talk at all, but you understand her in some way.
Yeah, like their energy is very, or your energy, they're like this ultimate mirror of how you are. If your horse is not acting right, you might want to center yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting because when I broke my booty, just the beginning of August is when I broke it. And Magnum is my horse. And when I fell off of him, I lost my stirrups. I fell off the side. I didn't know I was broken at the time. But when I lost my stirrups, fell off, he was shaking.
Mm.
And I went to jump back on him. I'm sorry. I think my phone has gone crazy here, Tammy. I'm so sorry. So what's going on? Um, anyways, I couldn't ride him for about 2 months and he was depressed.
Mm.
Yeah. But he's better now.
Yeah, he's like, Mama, you're back.
Yes, he is a much happier pony now. So we're all good now. I'm riding again. We're traveling again. We're doing the series, and I never had to slow down my real estate business, though. I have amazing people that work within my brokerage that were there to pick me up and help me. I sat on what I called the throne, and it was from the Cushion Lab. And if anybody ever has a situation where their back or their booty needs a little extra cushion, highly recommend the Cushion Lab and Amazon. It's $75. I thought it was so silly to spend $75 on this cushion, but I'm gonna tell you it was worth every penny because the $25 cushion I got from CVS was garbage.
Mm. And you had to be on it quite a long time, right? Like,
Oh, I'm still using it on long drives.
mm.
Uh-huh.
Might be
I'm
something for
pretty
us.
much well, but it still is. There's weird pressure in my back and my sacral area where it was fractured and displaced. So it's not painful anymore, thankfully, because for a while the pain was encompassing stroke material, which is kind of scary because my doctor's like, you have to get your blood pressure down.
Mm.
But I did, thankfully. Whew, past that. Gave me a lot of chance for reflection, though. Gave me a lot of chance to deepen my faith and really think about why I was injured, and spending more time at home because I was forced to. I had to rest. That's not something I'm particularly good at, if I'm being honest. I'm a go, go, goer. People watching this probably are like, this lady has so much energy. I can't believe it. And that's how I am. And so when I'm down, it's hard for me, but it did give me a chance to read more because I listen to books a lot on the run, but I don't necessarily read. But I have a PMEF chair. So I would sit in that PMEF chair for long periods, 30 minutes or so, because it felt good just to have that stimulation to get that blood flow going to repair that area. And I would sit there and read. because you can't, and it had to be a physical book because you can't use your electronics while you're on your PMEF. So no watch. You don't want any of that stuff while you're using it because it's electromagnetic pulses. So you want to take away anything that has, the electronics. Then I'm sure people use it anyways, but I just choose to put it all away while I'm doing that and read or focus or reflect or pray or meditate or whatever during that time. And so it gave me a lot because I couldn't do yoga even. And I'm a big yogi. I love doing yoga. Teach a little bit of yoga, but I'm avid on that. And no, just was not an option for me during the 2 months that I was down because my body just had to completely rebuild. I had a cracked sacrum and a coccyx, and I took bone supplements, rested, went to see a special like acupressure kind of person because my regular chiropractor did not want to touch me. And that's fair. She was worried about doing more harm. That's a doctor's first responsibility, is do not do any more harm and only heal. So we had to be really aware of those things when I was healing and trying to make sure we were taking right steps. I got stem cells, which I think helped a lot. I'm a big believer in functional medicine. It's done wonders for me, having autoimmune issues and autoimmune diseases and weird blood disorders. But I did get stem cells, and I think that that's a big part of how I was able to get back on my horse in 8 weeks, because a lot of people are down for a way longer with those types of injuries.
Well, I bet. I mean, it's not like riding a horse is like very smooth, really. I mean, you can be smooth, but it's still like, on your
Um,
tailbone.
Barrels and mounted shooting are not particularly smooth
Yeah.
smooth rides. It's just
Oh.
you can put the pressure in your stirrups to try and make it smoother, and you definitely want to flow with your horse.
Mhm.
But with so many things going on, it's just difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. I've only, so we've had horses now a year, and I've actually only been on them like twice. I was on Hercules when he came home, right when he came home, and we took him for a ride, and I didn't know him well enough, probably. And I don't know, it's if you've not ever done it, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore, it takes a little bit longer for me to recuperate. So I was just a little nervous. And then the other one of the horses that Hunter was training, she walked me around the yard with her on, like I got a pony ride.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I think as it goes and I get more comfortable with them, it will, I'll probably eventually have my own horse and do some riding. But I'm slower to bring that into my own life, just because, Hunter's still, there's only one me. And so if something happens to me, it's a lot of
Right.
things go to the wayside.
Trust is a big part of the relationship with your horse and the bond that you share. And it really probably takes at least a year and some horse trainers have instant connections with horses. I have a friend, Angela, she lives in Kabul, Missouri, and I swear she can connect with any horse so quick. She's been around them all her life, though. I feel like she can look at the horse and know, like, it's a very great talent that Angela has. And I actually know quite a few people that have been around horses their whole life and they just pick up on things like that. And I just don't have that yet. I'm
Mhm.
never, I'm not saying I won't, but for me and my horse Magnum, it took a year for us to get really bonded together and a good team.
Mm.
And so when you were watching with Tally, it was like, it's hard to remember that sometimes where you came from, whether it's in your career, like real estate. When I was young, you were talking about when I was 6 years old, you know what I was doing? Digging up sewers. That's what my dad had us doing. And I do remember that, but you know, it's hard for us to remember sometimes where we came from, but I think it's an important reflection
Mm.
so that we appreciate how far we've come. We appreciate where we've came from, and we kind of never lose sight of that. I think that was one of the things you had when you were asking some questions just pre-podcast here is, where did you come from? What did you learn from that? All of those types of things. And it's like, I learned you don't ever want to forget that because you want to stay humble,
Mm.
right? You don't want to get outside of, and that's one thing that mounted shooting and horseback riding, it'll humble you fast, really fast, because you don't have complete control over that animal. You want that animal to think that you have, you've got control and you want to show the horse that you're a leader. Horses want leaders. They like that typically, but sometimes it's scary. Just like you said, you get intimidated. They're big animals. And so even my daughter was struggling with this new young horse that we had because the horse, one of our friends, Carla, calls it buffaloing. The horse buffaloes her.
What does that
And
mean?
what she means by that is the horse takes advantage of her. So
Mm,
the horse knows, and Ashlyn overcame this just last weekend. I feel like she really made a breakthrough where she decided that that horse is not going to do that to her anymore. And I was going to get on the horse and ride it, but she said, "No, Mom, I'm going to go ahead and do it." And I said, "Good, okay, just don't let her take advantage of you."
mhm,
So by not taking advantage, it means you're going to probably get your spurs into this horse. I
mm,
mean, because you're going to make this horse go forward when it's trying to come up like this. So making the horse go forward and then releasing the pressure. That's how horses learn, is from the release of pressure, as I've been taught by many of my good friends. The release of pressure is how the horse learns. So once the horse goes the direction you want it to go, you release the pressure. So she would kick the horse and the horse would go, and then she'd release the pressure. She wouldn't keep kicking her. But they overcame that because the horse wants you to lead it, but it wants to challenge you. And it's scary when they challenge you, because I've been bucked off a couple of times.
mm,
And it was especially in my younger, my few, when I started 4 years ago. I had a horse that colicked. When I got back on her, it was great until we got close to the barn, and then she started feeling good and she threw me off. And
mhm,
then my horse, Magnum, I didn't realize at the time I was riding him in a saddle that was pinching him. And when I didn't know what I was doing, he was pretty tolerant of it. So a horse usually can tell, like, oh, this rider is dumb, for lack of a better term. Like, they don't know what they're doing. And so sometimes that horse will be more tolerant of you. And as you learn, it realizes that you know more and it expects you to know more. And so this saddle had been pinching him probably for quite a while. And I didn't know what was going on. And finally, he just said, "Lady, you're out of here." So he threw me clean off. And I was like, I got right back on him, because that's one thing I know is you got to get right back on that horse. That's just, you got to tell the horse, nope, you're not going to be that horse to me. I'm going to get back on you. And that's a great life lesson too, right? Fail forward.
yeah,
Get on the horse, stay on the horse, and grit it out a little bit. You said grit, and that's something I do embrace, is grit. Like, you got to be gritty to be an entrepreneur, to keep going. I mean, it doesn't come easy, and so you've got to be self-motivated. You got to be gritty. You got to keep going. You got to fail forward. These are all things that are life skills. I just talked about that at a career day that I did up here at Smithville High School, which is the high school closest to me. But I told those kids, going into real estate, you have to be self-motivated. Nobody's going to tell you, "Hey, be to work at 8 o'clock." No, you're going to have to get up and go tell yourself, "Hey, I need to run comps today. I need to door knock today. I need to make calls today. I need to debrief the calls that I did yesterday. What did I do great? What did I do terrible?" For me, I have a brokerage. So I put together brokerage meetings. I talk to each of my agents, see where they're at, see where their transactions are at. If they're having problems, especially severe problems, is there a broker on the other side I need to be in contact with to help these agents navigate through these waters, because we don't have good communication? What's going on? And these are all the things I just have to tell myself to do. Nobody's leaning over my shoulder like, "Hey, you're not doing your job."
yeah,
It's, "Hey, I've got to do this," right? So the same with horses, right? Nobody's going to take care of those horses. I got to go take care of them, or ask my 13-year-old too, which is a whole different challenge sometimes. But oh,
yeah,
it's just how it is.
yes. Yeah. Well, real estate can be really intense and so full of wins and losses and market shifts. I mean, there's been a lot of that for sure. What has kept you grounded and focused on your purpose through it all?
I love serving and helping people. I think that's a calling. Just like running for political office, that's a calling. Something is moving me to be, have a heart of service. Because in reality, the political world, it's not a high paying world for sure. My private business will make me far more money than anything political will, but it's serving the greater good. It's serving the most number of people in a role that I feel I am well qualified for. I understand. I'm a great business person. I've had a lot of blessings and a lot of success in business. And so I feel like I'm the best person to manage the asset of the county with the people that I will be elected with. And I love collaboration. That's another thing that really helps me stay grounded is I love to collaborate with people and I love to debrief things. So what went good, what went bad, what can we do better?
Mhm.
Even when we did my campaign launch, we set up a debrief the following week and I was like, what did we love about this? What did we loathe about this? And, what are we going to do different? And luckily, we had planned really well. And so things went extremely well. There's honestly not a lot of negatives that have come about, but there's always room for improvement. I'm a big believer in, Tammy and I came from some sales training together a long time ago, although we started in women's council. I really feel like that may have been where we first connected, but it may have even been before that and just some real estate stuff. But we used the thermometer 1 to 10, right? And
Uh,
so where's the 10, right? How do we make it to a 10? And I always feel like maybe I'm a 9.5, but I got to leave some room for improvement. I tell myself mentally I'm an I-10, but in reality, like when I'm doing a lot of the different pieces, it's like, okay, but there's still room for improvement, right? Like I can do better at that. There's a way to be more efficient at that. There's a way to teach that better. Whatever that is, I want to make sure that I leave myself that constructive criticism, if you will. And I always like that from other people as well. I'm like, no, seriously, tell me what we can do better. Because
mm,
I want to know. I really want that constructive criticism so that we all enhance each other's journey as we're going through this thing called life.
yeah. I interviewed somebody early on and he calls it constructive feedback. And I think that when I heard that, I was like, ooh, that's a nice reframe on that. Because
It is.
say constructive criticism, people might be like, already. But when you say the constructive feedback, I'm like, I like that. So it's a nice little shift. So you've been known for creating win-win relationships, genuine relationships. How do you stay heart-centered in an industry that often rewards the hustle more than humanity?
You have to keep your clients' needs before your own in real estate. And a great example of that is somebody that would contact me and I go to their home. I want to sell my home and I want to move. And we're getting into a little bit easier buyer's market, we'll call it. We're coming off that COVID, what I called fire down the streets. Like you couldn't get a house, you had to bid over asking, you had to waive your inspections, you had to gap your appraisal, you had to do all of that, which honestly wasn't super healthy for the real estate market. But people that had to move had to move. But in the case of like one of the ladies, her husband passed away, I think, and she just was like, I need to move. Like, this isn't working. I moved my grandkids in, yada, yada, yada. And I went over there and I started talking to her. And we went down to the basement. And she's like, but if I finished out this space, I really think this would work. And I said, well, do you want to finish out your basement or do you want to move? Because what I'm hearing you say is if this basement was finished with the master bedroom on the main floor, and the grandkids being able to be upstairs, and they have a playroom down here, that this space still really works for you. And you told me about how you loved your neighbors and you told me about how you love the street you live on and you like the location. So if you move, you're sacrificing all of those things that you told me that you really liked here. And maybe we could just finish your basement and I can give you some names and numbers of some folks that can help you do that.
Mm,
And so, obviously that does not net me a sale.
no.
And I am a general contractor for myself, honestly, but I don't charge a fee for other people usually. I GC my own stuff when I'm doing fix and flips, but I don't really GC for other people. Maybe I'll do that one day, because I am a great coordinator and I have a lot of good contacts to do fix and flip type of jobs. But I just gave her the information and said, I think I would call this individual and just start getting some quotes. And, if you don't like him, call somebody else. We can try and find you some other names and numbers of remodelers, basement finishers, everything like that. She still lives in that house today. And I bet you that was 10 years ago. But
That's
obviously that didn't net me a sale. And another one was, a lady, unfortunately, she'd had cancer and she had a reverse 1.5 as well. And she kept talking about moving. But the cost of her moving versus staying in her current home, I like broke all of that down for her. Like, hey, here's what your new payment's going to look like according to the lender. and here's your current stuff. Cause we got it all out. We sat at the table. At the time, I'd helped her with a plumbing issue. She had got in the middle of a bad situation with a plumbing company that I won't name, but I got over there and talked to those guys because they were totally taking advantage of her.
Mm.
And I just came over with her. Her family was unable to be there. They were far away. And I just said, tell me about why this is going this way. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. And I think that comes back to part of your original question is how do you stay genuine in that? And you stay curious. When you're curious, when you're asking questions, you're finding out information that is going to help you in that situation. And it's it's getting you to a place of genuinely you're concerned. Genuinely, I want to know why this is the way that this is. And for her, it ends up she's still in that house too. And I think that was 3 years ago now. But the cost just was like we were looking at this and I'm like, but you like this, you like this. So if we get this plumbing thing fixed, which I get is it was a horrible nightmare. Her whole basement was torn up. I mean, carpet everywhere, jackhammered up the concrete floor, like it was a mess, right? But we got it all fixed back up and she's still there today. So it just isn't always the right time. And hopefully, the goal is stay in contact with them, follow up, see if they're doing okay, visit them. I like to do pop bys. That's one of the things we do in the real estate world that I think is really fun and helps us stay connected with our clients. But that helps you maintain that genuine relationship because you started by caring about that person more than you cared about that paycheck that you were going to get.
Yes, yes. And the money will follow when you're authentic with what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
So you juggle a lot with being a mom, a wife, a business owner, an athlete, advocate. What have you learned about energy management and staying aligned with what really matters?
So one of my favorite things is affirmations,
Mhm.
helps me really stay on track, and gratitude. And I actually just got I was somebody years ago that Tammy and I both know is Christy
Mm-hmm.
sent me the 5-minute gratitude journal as one of those Christmas chain letter things that we used to do together.
Hmm.
So she sent me that 5-minute gratitude journal. I bought that for so many people since then. And it's quick, it's easy, but it keeps you thankful, which if you start with an attitude of gratitude, a lot of other things just fall into place. And so my daughter's 13. Anybody that has teenagers, I'm not telling you anything. Tammy has raised two of them. They can be a handful. And every day is not unicorns and rainbows. I
Mm-mm.
know kids really, I don't, and I don't remember, I mean, I remember being a teenager and I remember things being tough, but I don't ever remember anybody giving me those same tools. Like stay in the gratitude. So I got her the gratitude journal for teens.
Mm.
And it's different than the one that we get for adults, but it's so cute. It's colorful. It asks them what they're looking forward to in the year. It has more kind of teen-based slogans or sayings that it's got in it. It's really cute, and it was cheap on Amazon. So if anybody's got a teenager and they want to help them, I think that one it's more girly. I'm sure they have one for boys, but that's I think that's just such a huge key because it's easy to get off track with that. It's even easy for me to get off track. And I am a pretty darn positive person. Breaking my booty really sent me, into a tizzy on some things because you struggle with your self worth when you're that broken,
Hmm.
quite frankly. And so being thankful that number one, you're still alive and you didn't crack your whole noggin open on the gate because that could have happened to me easily. And I didn't have a helmet on that day. I ride with a helmet sometimes, but I'm not great and consistent like I should be. And I could have hit that gate that was a stationary gate with my head, and I somehow like barely made it over that gate and hit on the other side. Which it's just we still look at that video and we're like, how did I miss that gate? Like literally, probably a miracle that I missed that gate. But if my head had hit that gate, I might not be talking to you right now. I mean, it's that life or death. You see a lot of people recover from horse injuries, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just that way. So um, you just have to be grateful, literally, for the life that you have and for being alive.
Yes, I think that's so important. I can remember some injuries that I've had that it really, when I had my concussion, and it's like 6 weeks of not a lot of screen time and reflection of, oh my goodness, life, and then even just the recovery time that it takes after a large injury to get your confidence back. Or for me it was like a lot of mental fogginess that it took a long time to heal, for sure. So gratitude definitely changes so much in our lives.
Yep.
So what is a leadership lesson that took you a while to learn, and and you wish that you'd figured it out sooner?
If I had found some of the sales training and coaching earlier in my career,
Mm,
and I'm very successful by and large, but I think it would have helped me feel more in my purpose sooner
mm,
instead of, for example, qualify, disqualify is a great example of that. And we are familiar with the DISC and the profiles, and that not everybody just loves everybody, right? And so sometimes, and that's one of the great things about having a lot of people in my brokerage that are very diverse now, is I have somebody that if I'm not the perfect fit, because I'm like drinking from a fire hose. And so I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. But I have agents that are way softer spoken. I have agents that are more analytical than I am because I'm a really big picture person, and that can be a lot for some people. So we have all of those different tools to reach in and say, okay, well, this will help this person more so than I can help that person. And I can still help mentor the transaction, but I don't have to be the one in the transaction every second because somebody else might work with them better than I might work with them. And if I'd had that tool, I think I found that in my early 30s, but if I'd had that in my 20s, game changer. Because it is a game changer once you learn about, the success triangles and the balance of that and just the being coachable.
mm,
That's something actually that my daughter's coach said. She was the MVP of her volleyball team, which was totally unexpected. But the reason that she earned that MVP spot, her coach said, is she is the most coachable kid. And so she tries to implement things when she's taught them instead of, no, I know what I'm doing, which
mm.
I told her she needs to do that in horsing a lot more. I feel like she says, no, mom, I know that. I don't know. And I'm like, get out of that horse's mouth. Get out of that horse's mouth. And we
Yeah.
say that in horsing because the horse doesn't love it if you're constantly pulling on its face. It gets angry about that, and it's not going to be as soft, and it's not going to ride as well. And so we say, get out of that horse's mouth. And I feel like she's a lot less coachable in equine sports than she is in volleyball for whatever reason. I have no idea.
Might be
Um,
the teacher. I
it
have
might be what?
the teacher. I find that my daughter does better working with others than she might be with me.
Facts, you know.
Because you're the comfort, right? You're the comfort person for her. You're the person that she gets to just be herself with. So that's sometimes it's something that I've learned to give grace about as I've grown in my motherhood, but because it is frustrating sometimes when you have a little you that you're guiding.
That's what I say that. It's hard looking in the mirror sometimes, isn't it?
It is so hard looking in the mirror sometimes.
And you have to think that way though, because
Yes.
they are a mini version of you looking in the mirror in so many ways. Not exactly. Obviously, there
No.
was another human involved with helping us make the human that we produced, but a lot of those characteristics you can see in yourself if you choose to look in the mirror.
Yes. Yes. It is
Sometimes it's
very,
really hard because it's frustrating.
yes. Yes.
But you're right. Grace is a very important piece of that. Um, and I think you probably, like me, sometimes struggle with giving that to somebody that's super close to us.
Mm,
Sometimes I feel like, when we're out in the world, we're very empathetic or we're very graceful or we're very, whatever. And then when we're at home, that's our comfort. And so we're a little more short fused or we're a little less graceful or grace giving than we might be out in the world. So that is a very important point for me to reflect on as well, to just say, need to give a little grace. And then I do try to get her with other people
mhm.
that are far more experienced in anything equine than I have ever thought about being. And so I do try to have her go with them, or listen to Angela, listen to Hannah, listen to Bobby, listen to Amy, whoever it is that's our friend that's been involved in the equine things for a long time, or they were raised with them, or they're a trainer. And I'm like, why don't you ask them about that? And luckily she has developed those relationships on her own, which is fantastic, because I admire those ladies so much. They're people that I, know, like, and trust, as we say. We like to do business with people that we know, like, and trust.
Yes.
So those ladies are people that I trust. And so it's fine for my 13-year-old to emulate them in most things, because they're honest people with a lot of integrity that want the best for her also. So that's, something that we look for. And just, that's one of the reasons we chose to do the barrel series in Russellville, is just more practice with the people that we admire in the horse industry.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very grateful. I have a girlfriend, which is kind of who Hunter first got her fire for barrel racing, who I've known since I was 17. And Hunter got to go spend some time with her, not this summer. I think it was like last summer or the summer before, and just really started to build her passion. And when Hunter got interested in horses, she said to me, this is a great group of people, that horse people are good people. So it's somebody that if your daughter, you don't have to worry as much about her going off and doing drugs or
Hopefully not.
toys or anything, because your horse is so expensive, like it's going to take a lot of most of your money, but also it's something that keeps you grounded. And I thought that was really good advice.
Yeah, you got to be present with that horse. It knows if you're not paying attention to it.
Yes.
And so that's really, I think that's a great, it makes you wonder sometimes, man, if my mom or dad had got me the horse, because I feel like maybe not every little girl, but I feel like a lot of little girls want a horse.
Mhm.
And I wanted a horse when I was a kid. I did not get a horse. They are a lot.
Yeah.
And so we didn't live on land when I was growing up. We lived in the city, and it's not too far, honestly, from where we live now, but we didn't have 20 acres. We didn't have space to put up horse tack, horse stalls, feed rooms, all of the things that come with, horsing. And I know you can board them, but that's expensive. To board a horse is expensive. And, you like to be able to let them out in the pasture, and, you know, people like to keep their horses all kinds of ways. But I find that I'm particular, and I'm a little possessive about my horse. I want him to be taken care of a certain way. And
Mhm.
that's one of my best friends, honestly. The horse is one of my best friends. He is. He's just, I love my horse. And so, and I know my daughter loves her horses too, but I go back to that special bond that you have with that animal that is created over time because of the relationship of trust.
Mhm.
You're on that horse's back, and you have to trust that it's not going to get all salty and throw you off. And it might. There's ways to get it out of that, which honestly, back when I got bucked off, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get that horse out of a buck, because I was a green rider.
Mhm.
I was super green, and I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I still just dug right in like I do with everything else, and just went for it. I had to learn from that. It's just a learning experience. And so now if the horse started to do it, I feel like I'd get him out of it a lot faster and hopefully not fly off. But
Mhm.
because I'm not a bronc rider, I don't have high desires to be a bronc rider especially at my age, like you said, Tammy, not probably recovering from being a bronc rider at my age. So I saw, what did Hunter do? She rode a little bull or something.
She rode, yeah, she did ride like a little bull. And this new horse is only 4, and she's not been under saddle, so she's been trying to break. So she's been thrown, and you can see the video of her like it's yes. Oh,
Definitely needs her helmet.
she definitely needs her helmet. She's talking about sending her away for somebody to saddle break her, and so she can do some other things, because that's a lot for somebody.
Well, and you know what? They're specialists.
Hmm.
There's people that are special, and that goes back to real estate too, right? Like, you want somebody that I'm specialized in, multifamily and investing and things like that, and have a lot of experience now in land and farms and things like that. And so we have 14,000 agents in the greater Kansas City area, maybe a little bit less than that now. I think our numbers have went down. But when you think about trusting your largest financial asset to somebody that does one or less transactions a year,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's really important when either we're talking about horsing, even though I know Hunter's young and she's got high aspirations, but she hasn't broke colts yet.
Mm.
You know, she's worked in a lot of stables and things, but that's not like she's not a Clinton Anderson ambassador yet. She may aspire to that one day. I have a couple of friends that are, but they're trained in colt breaking or breaking a horse or whatever. And there's just certain things that I would have no idea what to do. I've watched Cal Middleton break a couple of colts. I want no part of that. No, thank you. No, I will send that horse away, no problem. I sent Tally away a couple times already. Like, you go get 30 days put on you by an individual that knows way more about horses than I do.
Yeah,
Because I don't have the time, first of all. And second of all, I don't have the experience. So it's worth the $1,000 or whatever it costs to send that horse to somebody that it's going to come back to me with a new mindset that I couldn't have created. Not very well, anyways.
right, right.
And sometimes you do more damage than good. That's the other
Mhm.
thing I've learned about horses is sometimes it's harder to undo bad training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard and just like in life, right? What
Mm-hmm.
happens when we get into bad habits?
Mm-hmm.
They're hard to break.
They are hard to break. Yes.
It takes weeks of creating a new habit, whether it's working out, eating healthy, not drinking, whatever that habit is that you want to make consistent. It's harder to undo what you did than
Mhm.
it is to start a new path. And the horse, I've heard that so many times. Like, it's better to have a fresh canvas than it is to try and undo bad habits. Because sometimes I don't think the horses can unlearn what they've learned.
Probably that could
Yeah,
be. They have a good memory.
they do. I think their brain is actually pretty small, but man,
Yeah,
they remember things. It's pretty interesting what they remember.
yeah, for sure. So, what does unleash your amazing leadership mean to you?
Just being authentic, being genuine, trying to keep that curiosity in whatever relationship it is, and being genuinely in whatever you're doing, right? And that's really hard in today's society because we've got so many things getting thrown at us that we are an instant gratification society today, and I think that's one of the reasons, unfortunately, home ownership has gone down is it's not that easy.
Mm,
There's a lot to it. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. But the thing that we know about home ownership is it is the number one way that you can generate wealth in this country. And talk about being grateful. A few years ago, I went to MIPIM, and MIPIM is the world's largest international networking conference. So it's a big real estate conference in Cannes, France. And my favorite question to ask people when they came up was, what does home ownership look like in your country?
mm,
And they don't have 30-year mortgages. Heck, some of them couldn't even own property in their countries. I mean, these were people from all over the world, and they wanted to learn more about real estate because they aspire to have private property rights, but like they would have where they could own something for 10 years and then the government takes it back. Or there's so many different things. And a lot of people, they had to have the cash to buy the house because there's no mortgages. So, they would incrementally build with the money that they had versus buying the whole house, because we can do that with a 30-year fixed mortgage in this country. But that is a privilege
mm,
and something that we, quite frankly, take for granted in this country. But I always say anything worth doing probably isn't all that easy, and home ownership's not all that easy. But again, we're an instant gratification society. So unleashing that amazing means tapping into maybe something that's not that easy, but
mm,
it's certainly going to be worth it in the long term. Because I would imagine that even though kids don't maybe think about retirement, I am closer now to retirement and thinking about that. And I'm so glad that I have made provisions where I love to hustle, I love to work, but I'm also thinking about I bought a house in Florida. I want to enjoy that house in Florida. And that means maybe taking a couple of steps back, but having good people in place that are going to help me with my business and that I have helped build their business, right?
mm.
So that we can have the unleash on the beach, right?
That's right.
Right. Well, and you lived in Florida for a while, I mean, it's a different vibe and I don't probably, my husband might want to live in Florida full time. I don't know that I want to live in Florida full time. I obviously a lot of my heart's in Clay County to want to run for an elected position in the county.
Yes,
So,
yes,
so a lot of my heart is right here in Clay County and I just don't ever know that I'm leaving that.
yeah, I understand that. Yes, Florida was, I feel like Florida is a great place to visit. Living there was just different. It was just it wasn't that whole Midwest vibe that we have here in Missouri.
It's very island vibey, which is wonderful. I love the island vibes. But the one thing I'll say is Florida creates a different stress, especially with hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that I can always come back home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if hurricane hits, I'm planning to be down there, whatever, what can I do? I can come back home. It's nothing, right? Just grab a flight, get out of there. When they say evacuate, I don't even have to think twice about evacuating because I have another place to go. I shutter my house up and I leave.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that live in Florida do not have that option. If
Right.
that is where their home is, that's a new level of stress. Do I leave my home because they told me to evacuate, or do I stay here and just tough it out? Knowing on the backside that I'm probably not going to have power for a while. Maybe my food will all spoil. I don't know, maybe some of them have a generator, but your fuel is only going to last for so long. And they tell you to stock up on your water and your toilet paper, but quickly the shelves become bare when a hurricane is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So if you weren't already kind of stocked up, it's, and I haven't lived there an extensive amount of time yet, but I can see why people are leaving now because they've had several seasons of hard hurricanes,
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Ian, and then the one that hit South Carolina. And then, it just was boom, 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 boom. And people get tired of that. And then the insurance and they don't pay. And so I'm out of pocket and I'm in a lawsuit that's going to take me 3 years now. That's not fun. I mean, and eventually, if they've been through this several times in their life, I can see how I'm leaving the state. I'm not doing this anymore. And when you talk about the Midwest, hey, great place. Come to Kansas City. You've got the Midwest culture. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with winter, but you don't have to deal with hurricanes here.
That's right.
And a tornado is not as predictable as a hurricane. So you don't have the same level of stress from a tornado because you don't know what's coming. You don't know for weeks that this tornado is coming. The hurricane, for weeks or at least a week, right? You know the trajectory of it. It's probably coming for you. They can tell you what category it is. Sometimes they end up going away, but they can tell you all of this. And for weeks, you're just like, oh my gosh, this hurricane is coming. Do I evacuate? What do I do? Well, when a tornado comes, it comes and it's in and out and it is devastating. And I don't want to take anything away from that because we've had some horrible tornadoes in Missouri. But I certainly think everybody can see how the stress is different from those two events.
For sure. Well, it's been so good catching up with you and hearing more about your journey and the equine and all the things that it's doing for you in your life. If people wanted to connect with you, how could they reach you?
Yeah, you can call me on my cell phone or text me 816-405-2439. And just because you're not in Missouri or Kansas, we help people across the country connect with the right realtors. We have a lot of referral partners across the United States and even in Puerto Rico now. You can check out my website at dreampropertiesre.com. You can check out my Facebook page. I'm on all the socials under Jennifer Justus. And then my Facebook page for my real estate company is Dream Properties Real Estate. And if you want to check out the shooting club, it's Ozark Mounted Shooters.
Very fun. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks for listening to Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what's next. Want more support or curious about working together? Visit unleashyouramazing.com to explore coaching, workshops, and ways to connect. Until next time, keep showing up and unleashing your amazing.